firstly, with the extensions of lease as well as the rebuilding, does that reduce social mobility? Hypothetical example, a family with a 3-room flat will get this extra 50 or 100 years on a 3-room flat. Family with a 5-room flat will get, or mention that will get 50 or 100 years in this larger ticket item, right? So effectively, everybody's net worth doubles, but the one with more gets more, right? And second question, I think our national obsession is clearly real estate, but I think our national problem is TFR. Have you guys thought about what the impact of all your proposals would be in totality on TFR?
I want to talk about this issue of social mobility, which is a good point, right? So the questions out there are, will automatic lease renewal and automatic rebuilding lead to lack of social mobility within the HDB sector, right? In other words, those owning 5-room flats, those owning 4-room flats will have advantage over those having 3-room flats, and will have 5-room flats already stuck within the family for generations, and nobody else can get those 5-room flats, right? I would say that there is some tendency towards that, but it's mitigated by many factors that should not end up in aggregate being a social mobility problem. Now, what are the factors? Okay, now, first of all, don't forget, we are making accessibility of the new 5-room flats much cheaper than they ever were, right? So new 5-room flats, new 4-room flats will be much cheaper now because they're being sold at cost. And so the entry level for a 5-room flat is going to be much easier. And that is the essence of social mobility. Entry level by a newcomer to the market, right? He buys a 4-room flat. After a while, within that 15 period, he can sell back to the HDB and upgrade to a 5-room flat before he reaches his 15-year MOP. So that's one factor. The other factor is that there will be an automatic recycling of these flats because a lot of them need to take that second bite of the cherry. They need to sell that flat in order to realize the capital value of that flat for their retirement. They can't just hang on. Very few families, except the richer ones, will be able to hang on to it, as a family heirloom, as it were. And also, don't forget that when they eventually pass away, depends how many kids they have. They just have one kid, yes, that's true. That's where you get that ossification. But if they have 2 kids, how are you going to divide it? You have to sell the flat to divide it among the 2 kids, right? And so selling that flat then enables someone else to buy it. So there are these automatic, and finally I would say that the main problem of social mobility in Singapore, if you want to think about the problem of inequality in social mobility, is not really between the 5-room flatters and the 4-room flatters and the 3-room flatters. It is between HDB holders and owners of private property. That is the biggest social immobility barrier that we have to worry about, right? Not within HDB. That is a second-order social mobility problem.
To add on to Lam Keong's point is, social mobility can come about if you started at 3-room flat with $100,000, but you have got a lot more cash and CPF that you can accumulate. And of course, with a fantastic education system that we have, you should be able to wisely invest the excess cash and that your CPF continues to accumulate your 2.5%, such that by the time you retire, actually you do have a pile of savings on the side that you can enjoy.
I'd also like to talk about finding social mobility right at the bottom. So you're taking the people who are in absolute poverty today, the bottom 10%, right? As they are today, because they have insufficient rental housing, the basic housing needs are not taken care of, it is these people that experience the most egregious social mobility. What happens to them? They become an underclass. They become an ossified underclass. In Singapore, we are in the process of forming an ossified underclass. I mean, look at the previous sessions that people had with the PMD drivers, right? You can see the formation of an underclass. And you can see the uncomfortable racial composition of that underclass, right? So our proposals that will give these people access to cheap rental housing with security of tenure, right, will give them that kind of platform, the best platform to actually, that trampoline, as Taman Shanmugam like to say, to get out of that lowest of absolute mobility, to escape social mobility. Finally, I'd like to talk about TFR. You asked what is the impact on TFR, which is the total the population replacement, right? I think affordable flats for young couples, 50 to 60% cheaper, plus more assured retirement adequacy, right, is going to increase TFR, definitely, and not lower